Here we go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Thwunk TV here, aka G-Lauren33. I want to welcome you guys back here to the Legit Shoot podcast, here with your SummerSlam 2020 preview and prediction. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy as we go through these rough times. But I am here today, live here Friday afternoon, and it is time to preview SummerSlam 2020. I do want to apologize really quickly. I was supposed to originally get this video done. I was supposed to stream on Wednesday. I was supposed to do SummerSlam preview a couple days ago, depending when you guys are watching this. But it's been busy, very busy on the channel. We had the Monday Night Raw review on Monday. We had Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 63 spoilers. So you guys know, for my anime fans, I had to cover that. So basically, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I was dealing with that. Plus, we had that My Hero Academia chapter that came out. And if you guys saw that review, that was pretty emotional. Not going to talk about it here because this is not an anime video, but that's what's been going on. So I was planning on doing the preview and prediction show on Wednesday, but because of those other videos, that's why I am going live today. Friday afternoon, getting this done so you guys can, no matter if you guys are watching on stream right now or if you guys are watching this on demand sometime over the weekend, you guys have my preview and predictions. If you guys watch the Monday Night Raw and Smackdown reviews, you guys can already pretty much tell how I see SummerSlam going. But, I like to do a preview and prediction show, especially for the big pay-per-views, just to, make sure everything's out there crystal clear, things of that nature. But it's going to be a long weekend on the podcast if everything goes down. We had the Monday Night Raw review on Monday. Smackdown, WWE Thunderdome. We're going to talk about that for a couple minutes. Juniors, thank you for the compliment about the new hairstyle. Sure, trying out something new here. Twisting my hair for SummerSlam weekend. Well, not specific for SummerSlam weekend, but you guys get the pun. Big weekend, trying to go in a new look. But yeah, it's going to be a big weekend on the podcast. You guys have the SummerSlam preview and prediction show right now. Smackdown tomorrow night, Saturday night. I'm hoping. I don't know yet because I may be busy, but I'm hoping Saturday night around 10. We will be going live again because NXT TakeOver 30. All right, I don't do NXT reviews all the time, but you guys really enjoyed the NXT TakeOver in Your House review. Plus, this is a big show, NXT TakeOver 30. So I'm hoping that tomorrow night, Saturday night, we can go live sometime around 10. But if we can't, I may just do the review on Sunday morning or something like that. Also, WWE Network is releasing a special documentary, WWE Untold, Sasha Banks and Bayley from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn back in 2015. You guys know I believe this is one of the best matches in the history of WWE. It's the best women's match in WWE history, and they're going to be doing a WWE Untold on that. So you guys like when I do, reactions to WWE documentaries. So I'm thinking about it. If all goes well, if I'm able to do the NXT TakeOver 30 review Saturday night, I'm planning on Sunday morning before SummerSlam doing that reaction. If I can't and I'm forced to do the NXT TakeOver review Sunday morning, I'll just put the WWE Untold reaction sometime during next week. But next week's going to be busy on the channel too because I have some other videos going up for some other topics like anime and stuff on the channel. So there's a lot going on. And then Sunday night, the big night, we're going to have a SummerSlam live reaction stream. I'm going to have some friends on the stream watching SummerSlam with me. So if you guys want to come through, my reaction streams are pretty cool. They're pretty intense and pretty epic, especially during Sasha Banks matches. So definitely, if you guys want to watch SummerSlam with me, definitely we'll have that watch along Sunday night a little bit after 7 p.m. And to wrap the big weekend up, Sunday night SummerSlam review right after the show. No matter if it ends at 9, 10, whatever time SummerSlam ends, right after the show, about 10 to 15 minutes afterwards, we'll be right back here on the Legit Shoot podcast with your SummerSlam full review. And then the next day, wrapping everything up, Monday Night Raw, the Raw after SummerSlam, as always, Monday Night Raw review. So, like I said, there's a lot of content that's going to be coming out this weekend, especially Saturday night through Monday. That's going to be the big day. But a lot's going to be happening. So if you guys are not subscribed, and if you guys don't have notifications enabled, make sure right now, as you guys are watching this video, click the bell right next to my name, Fitz on TV, so you guys will be notified anytime I go live or I upload, because it's going to be a long weekend, man. SummerSlam weekend, and we're going to be doing it big. Thank you to everyone who's watching in the chat. If you guys are watching, make sure to say hello. Thank you to everyone watching on demand. And we're going to be talking about SummerSlam. So, a lot of things are happening with WWE this week. All right. Starting tonight, there will be at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida. The Amway Center is where the Orlando Magic, the NBA team, play. And you guys, it's kind of ironic because the NBA, they're in the bubble at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando. And just a couple minutes away from that is the Amway Center. And that's where WWE is going to be calling their new home, at least for the next 2 months. So WWE now has a deal with the Amway Center where they'll be running shows out of that arena for the next 2 months. So from now, August, SummerSlam, until at least the end of October. We don't know how things are going to look. We don't know how the world is going to look too much from now. I don't think we're going to have a vaccine, but we don't know. There was a report that came out yesterday that AEW Dynamite, probably WWE's biggest competitor right now, they are going to be having live fans in the Daisy Center down there in Jacksonville, Florida. It's not going to be full attendance, but they're going to be having about 10 to 15% live audience, which is still a pretty good amount. Usually if you go to a normal wrestling show like a Raw or SmackDown or AEW Dynamite, usually that's about, at full capacity, it's about 14 to 15,000 people. For 10% of that, 10 to 15%, that's about 1,000 to 1,500 people. That's a lot of people. Look at NXT Full Sail University. That I think it was a little over 1,000 people for their shows, maybe even less. So definitely, that's a significant amount of a crowd. Of course, they're going to be socially distanced, and they're going to be taking all kinds of different social measures. What up, Edward? Good to see you in the chat, bro. But this is big because now AEW is bringing back live fans. Yes, it's nowhere close to full capacity, but it's live attendance. WWE, the most they've done is had NXT talent. They had a short couple weeks span where they invited friends and family of WWE performers, but that all stopped when they had that huge COVID controversy back in June. WWE, for the most part, has done a good job in the last 2 months of handling their COVID protocol. And now, especially now, Vince, for months now, Vince has been adamant at he wanted to be, the first company, the first promotion to bring back live fans. They were hoping to have live fans for SummerSlam, but they're not going to do that, even though, and we'll talk about WWE Thunderdome in just a minute, but Vince wanted to be the first one to bring back live fans, and now AEW has beat him to it, even though, like I said, it's nowhere near full capacity. But hold up, I'm getting a call. Oh, man. All right, anyway, sorry about that. I had a quick call. That's what you get when I go live. You're getting the most authentic and organic experience. Luckily, I was able to mute myself so you guys can hear the conversation. But yeah, back to what we were saying. AEW is now coming back with live fans. They're gonna have about 10 to 50% capacity. Vince, I tweeted this out. The second that Vince sees, and Vince probably already knows. The reports that WWE is, backstage morale is very high. WWE is bringing back some of the employees that they furloughed back in April. WWE is very excited about being in the Amway Center and then debuting this whole Thunderdome concept. If you guys saw on social media, WWE did do like a test run of Thunderdome with some NXT talent, and it looked weird. And I'll give more of that. I'll get into more of that in just a second. But overall, it doesn't look that bad. And backstage, WWE is very excited for SummerSlam and going forward with the new Thunderdome concept. All right. And now here we are with AEW. They're coming back with live fans. Now you got to ask yourself, how long till Vince brings back live fans? Because they're going to be bringing back live fans at AEW in Jacksonville. And remember, Florida's been one of the hot spots for COVID since this whole pandemic began back in February. So you got to be asking yourself, how long till Vince bring back live fans? Yes, WWE has WWE Thunderdome. They have a new home in the Amway Center, but they could easily take down, parts of that Thunderdome set just to allow actual real fans to be there in attendance. And like I said, WWE's not going back on touring anytime soon. So isn't AEW. But the fact that they're bringing back live fans in sub capacity and probably going forward as things hopefully get better, how long, till Vince is like, okay, I want a full attendance. So I just wanted to bring that up so that thing is in the back of your minds. But I'm telling you right now, you heard it here first. I will not be surprised. Even though WWE now has WWE Thunderdome, I will not be surprised if sometime in the next, month and a half, I don't know, maybe Survivor Series, Clash of Champions, Hell in a Cell, one of those three shows. I will make a prediction right now. Before one of those three shows, we will be seeing fans back in attendance at WWE shows. AEW did it first. All right, that's all I'm going to say there. And I don't really cover AEW on the channel as much as I used to because, I just don't have the time to cover that much wrestling during the week. But it's something to look at. I'm telling you guys right now, WWE fans will be back in attendance at either the Amway Center or somewhere else sometime in the next couple months. It's going to happen. Trust me. But back to what I was saying. Before we get into the actual SummerSlam card, I want to talk about the WWE Thunderdome. We've heard about, they've been hyping it up all week, this new fan experience, and it's going to be debuting with SmackDown this weekend. They're going to be having WWE Thunderdome at SummerSlam and Raw this week. I don't know if it's going to be going forward, but at least for now, WWE Thunderdome is here. And the way they're saying is the presentation is going to look better than Mania, which I highly doubt, but it's going to allow WWE to do cool things with LED graphics and boards and all these other things. And like I just said a couple minutes ago, WWE debuted a preview of WWE Thunderdome last night. And they had a couple like NXT matches. And basically, you could see it looked like a WWE show, like a normal SmackDown or Raw, at the blue lighting and everything. But basically, they have these huge LED boards, all right, where you could see tons and tons of fans. The weird thing about it was, I think since it was a test run, you could see there was a lot of people and they would have their image duplicated right next to one another. So you could see, say, like a person named Cassie was on the screen. You could see 5 like boxes of her same image on the screen. And I understand it's a test and it's not going to look perfect at first, but it was just noticeable to me. And I don't want to judge it till we see it. Because one thing is, I complained when we first had no fans in the arena, like way back when the pandemic started. We got used to it. Even though we didn't like it, we got used to it. When they brought in the plexiglass and the NXT fans, at first it looked a little bit weird, but it was better than having no fans at all. And we got used to it, even though it still didn't feel like what we had before. The wrestling will never, not for AEW, not for WWE, not for any of these promotions, it will not feel normal again till we get fans back in attendance like old times. But still, overall, it looks weird, but it doesn't look bad. I feel like once WWE fine tunes it, it'll actually look decent. The problem, or the thing that I'm potentially worried about, is WWE fans are pretty weird and creepy. All right, with the NBA and the ultra courtside thing they do, you have to register, you have to qualify and do all these other things just to be able to get into those shows, just to be able to be a virtual fan. Right? We've seen like celebrities like Shaq and Mark Jackson and Lil Wayne and other people at these shows. But WWE with WWE Thunderdome, there's really no registration. I saw it, I tested it out. I signed up for SummerSlam just to see, and it takes 5 seconds. You type in, your email, your stuff like that, and you're in. You're in just like that. And I think all you really need to do is have like a good camera, reasonable lighting, and then you're fine. As long as you don't have like inappropriate stuff in the background that could be distracting. But the thing about it is, like, in a process where it's that simple to be able to get into WWE Thunderdome, right? There gotta be a concern of people and wrestling. Like I said, wrestling fans are weird. There's gonna be a case where somebody's gonna do something stupid on screen, and it's going to be noticeable for everybody, and it's gonna it's not gonna work out well. It's not gonna work out well, and we're all just waiting for it. It's a little bit distracting at first, but like I said, once I think WWE fine tune it, it'll be fine. We'll be used to it. But it looks weird. Not gonna lie, it does look weird. But the thing I want to wait to see how it looks this weekend, especially with SmackDown and SummerSlam. Plus, those creepy fans. You don't know what they're gonna do if they get the chance to be on camera. So that's the only thing I'm worried about. Because remember, WWE is live. These are not pre-recorded shows anymore. They're going to be going live with Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, all that. No more pre-recorded nonsense. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm going to give it a chance. It didn't look terrible, but it just looks a little weird and creepy. But I feel we need to give it about a week or two before, we judge it. And also, plus, we still haven't seen how it's going to look with the entrances and all the graphics and stuff. My thing is, you can make all the changes to the product you want, with the presentation. And I love, new stages, new presentation aspects, all these things. But the thing that I'm worried about is it going to make the cards better? Monday Night Raw this week, and I said on the review, it was one of the worst go-home shows that I could remember. SmackDown last week wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't, amazing or anything, but it wasn't bad. But Raw's go-home show last week was not good at all, really. And, they're hyping up WWE Thunderdome, and yes, I'm on the bet SmackDown viewership will increase because of this. But if the shows are bad, no one's gonna give a crap about Thunderdome. You can put all the graphics, you can put all the lasers, you can do all the cool effects you want. But if the shows don't at least get decent enough where people are gonna stick and watch, then it doesn't matter what you do with the presentation. If the WWE product is good, I don't think it's going to get to the level it once was until Vince is gone and, out of the picture for good. But if the shows are at least decent to an extent, then the presentation will enhance that and it will provide for a better show at the long run. So, like I said, I'm willing to give WWE Thunderdome a chance, but like I said, I'm going to wait until this weekend, until we get a couple shows with just before we can accurately judge it. All right. But let's get into SummerSlam. Gotta get a quick glass of fruit punch power right here, man. This is the good stuff. This is the good bev. But SummerSlam this week. I've said this on the Monday Night Raw and the SmackDown reviews. SummerSlam does not feel like SummerSlam should be. I've been saying since WrestleMania, way back at WrestleMania when the house show Performance Center era started, I've been saying how WWE needs to start building towards SummerSlam then. Because we all knew WrestleMania felt weird. There was no crowd. There was nothing. It was just an empty arena with the commentators. And they advertised and marketed as, too big for one night. Now here we are with SummerSlam, and they're marketing as you'll never see it coming. Like what? I'll never see a good pay-per-view coming? I'll never see a good Monday Night Raw or SmackDown coming? Yeah, I guess so. I'll never see it coming because every week we walk into with the expectation that this show is going to be garbage. It's going to be trash. It's going to be unenjoyable. That's what we're usually thinking when it comes to these WWE shows. So now here we are with SummerSlam. And I said way back in April that WWE needs to start building towards this show now because they need to make this show, no matter how the world looks like at the end of August, they need to make this show what WrestleMania wasn't. And it's that simple. And it's just me being honest, like I always am. I'm brutally honest with you guys. And WWE failed. We've heard for the last couple of weeks that WWE didn't even know that WWE cared more about finding a new location for SummerSlam rather than making an actual card. The card for SummerSlam they should have already had an idea of what the card should have looked like right after WrestleMania and started building towards that. Then we get to July, and after what was the last pay-per-view? Backlash? Was I believe? Or no, Extreme Rules. Like we come back from after Extreme Rules, and we're hearing reports. Oh, WWE still has no idea what they want to do with SummerSlam because they write this show week by week, and you can see it. And it's one of the things that WWE does wrong. They instead of doing long-term storytelling, they decide to write this show week by week and think they can get away with it, but they can't because that's why the ratings are falling. And now here we are with SummerSlam, which is supposed to be your biggest show of the summer, your second biggest show of the year, and it feels nothing like that. And don't use the excuse that, oh, WWE's missing firepower. Yes, we understand Becky Lynch is out pregnant. Yes, we understand Brock Lesnar is not available right now, even though there are reports he could be coming back in the next couple weeks. Yes, we know Roman Reigns isn't there. And you can go on and on. There's other superstars that are not there as well. But at the end of the day, WWE still, with all those names being out, they still have the most talented roster out of any wrestling promotion in the world, and it's not even close. But yet they still can't book a decent show for their lives. And I hate it. There's no excuse. You can't use any excuse. You can't blame the pandemic. You can't blame the ratings. You can't blame not having fans. You should have anticipated this. Back in March, back before WrestleMania, people were saying, oh, we could be in this pandemic for the entire year. Things cannot get back normal. Me personally, I said this. I've gotten used to what life is now. I want things to be back to normal, but right now we don't know when things will get back to normal. Things are going to be, this pandemic is going to change our lives forever and ever and everybody in different ways. But WWE has no excuse to go book the shows like they do. SummerSlam should have been booked months ago. But yeah, you could tell with some of the matches on this show, they just put their names. It's like they just put names in the hats of like, oh, we should do this and this. But still, at the end of the day, it's not. And like I said, I always give WWE a chance. I do this almost every month. And for the most part, this year, WWE has given us decent pay-per-views. Even though Raw and SmackDown most weeks are garbage, and Extreme Rules was a heavy disappointment. But at the end of the day, I got to give credit where credit is due. WWE finds a way somehow to give you an okay to decent pay-per-view every single month. And I feel like they just put out their ass somehow. But, we'll have to wait and see. The card for SummerSlam isn't terrible, but some of the ways these matches were booked and put together is absolutely horrendous, bro. So we're going to get into this. All right. And basically, how many matches are on the card? I don't know if any other matches will be announced on SmackDown. There's only maybe one match that I could see being announced for SummerSlam on SmackDown tonight. And like tonight, we're supposed to get Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. But I believe I said this last week that I think that match isn't even going to happen tonight. We heard reports before SmackDown last week that match was going to be saved for SummerSlam, but then they announced it and advertised it for this week. Come on, you're not gonna have AJ Styles, one of your best wrestlers, arguably the best male wrestler on your roster right now. You're not gonna have him on SummerSlam. No, clearly the way I see them going about this is I think what's going to happen is Retribution is going to get involved before the match, attack each man, cause havoc, do what they've been doing, and that's going to lead for the match being delayed for Sunday at SummerSlam. That's the way I see it. Really, that's the only match I see that could be announced tonight for SmackDown on SummerSlam for tonight. But I don't know. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Real Deal Stewart says Lucha House Party will also face Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura for the tag titles tonight. I don't see that match happening on SummerSlam. That's probably why they're doing the match tonight, because that feud actually has a little bit of build to it. Do I see Lucha House Party winning the tag team titles, bro? Hell to the no. Absolutely not. No way they win the tag team titles tonight. It's gonna be at least, it's gonna take them a couple of tries before they get it. It would make no sense with the way Lucha House Party's been buried in their first tag team title match just to win that easily. Like, come on. Anyway, getting back into it. And I'm just pulling up the matches from CBS. All right. So Riddle versus King Corbin hasn't been announced either, but I could definitely see that match taking place on the pre-show. Definitely. I know how high Vince is on Matt Riddle, and I think Matt Riddle and Barry Corbin could have a really good match, even though I don't care about Barry Corbin. But Corbin does seem to step it up when it is a big match, so I could potentially see that match being put on the pre-show. Because right now, I don't think anything has been announced for the pre-show. I don't really see, unless it's maybe like the U.S. Championship, I don't see any of the matches on this card being on the pre-show. That's the way I see it. But moving on to matches announced for the main card as of right now. First off, we have is that UI Paul? Hey, that's my boy UI Paul. What's going on, bro? Good to see you, man. We're doing SummerSlam preview predictions. UI Paul is actually one of the, we watch wrestling shows every single week at our Discord server. And plus, we watched Extreme Rules last month when I was live streaming, and I don't think he knew I was live streaming. But definitely this Sunday SummerSlam, that's gonna be hype. But getting into the first match on the card, we have Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville in a hair versus hair match, and this feud, I'm not gonna lie, it's been built pretty well. Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Fire and Desire. Back when Mandy finally connected with Otis back at WrestleMania, and it was revealed that Sonya was the attacker. Sonya was built up very, very well. They built her up as a heel and said that Mandy was holding her back. All Mandy cared about was the fame, the glory, the beauty, and that's kind of true because Mandy, being I think she won like a world bikini contest, some nonsense like that. And with Sonya just like she has that MMA background about her, and she's a badass. And I love the intensity that Sonya brought to this feud. Mandy did her thing as well. Mandy actually cut a really good promo last week on Sonya, and I appreciate you, Paul. I appreciate it, bro. But anyway, getting back into it. So basically, with Sonya and Mandy, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, we saw Sonya attack Mandy backstage, and she actually cut her hair off. It was a really good attack. It surprised some people because it was reported a little bit beforehand that we were going to get that match, and then the plans for the match was scrapped. But I like that Sonya and Mandy was saved, and it was actually put on the SummerSlam card because I believe this is the first time Sonya and Mandy have ever been put on a SummerSlam card on the main show. It's a big opportunity for them, and it's big for I'm getting text messages right now. Anyway, it's a big opportunity for both. And they have good intensity. They have had a couple matches in the past, and I feel like this match is going to be an all-out brawl. I don't know if it's going to be a cinematic match. I don't know. They could go down that direction. We've had a cinematic match at basically every single show, but I don't know. This is not a match I don't think you would have in the ring. That's a match you would have backstage, but it's going to be interesting, and definitely I'm excited to see it. And what I think is going to happen is I think Sonya's losing. It's not that I want Sonya to lose. I want Sonya to be built up. I've been saying for a couple of years now that Sonya has the chance to be one of the bigger and brighter stars in the women's division. But what I think is going to happen is you've already have Sonya cut Mandy's hair off. and Mandy looks good with her big chop hairdo right now. But what I think is gonna happen is, do you really think that he's gonna go all the way and Manny's actually gonna be okay with going fully bald? No. You already had Sonya cut off Mandy's hair, So basically, Mandy's already taken half the stipulation. So Mandy is the baby face. She has to get ultimate payback on Sonya, because Sonya's just gonna keep attacking her and keep her attacking her until she stops. And how do you stop that? Cut off Sonya's hair. So I see Mandy winning. I think it's going to be aggressive. I think it's going to be intense. I think both these women are going to seize this opportunity. I don't know. Maybe if Bayley successfully retains at SmackDown, her SmackDown Women's title, maybe Mandy, this puts Mandy in line to be the next challenger. She is a babyface. Bayley's a heel. I don't know. But definitely, if I had to pick right now, I won't be super surprised if Mandy wins, but or not if Mandy loses, but I'm gonna go with Mandy winning. She already had her hair cut off. She's the babyface. It makes the most sense for her to go over in this instance. So it's gonna be interesting, but I'm gonna go with Mandy Rose winning this match. Moving on for the United States Championship, and look, you guys know, being a man of color myself, I like seeing people succeed, but this is ridiculous. Apollo Crews versus MVP for the U.S. Championship. We've already seen this match 2 or 3 times. Remember, originally this match was supposed to take place at Extreme Rules, but because Apollo was out with injury or he was dealing with COVID, whatever he was dealing with at the time, he was unable to compete, and they basically saved the match for a couple weeks later, resulting with Apollo actually beating MVP for the United States Championship. He won that new belt, and he said he was going to retire the old belt and hang it on his wall for his kids to see. And then he's been walking around with the new belt ever since. The thing about it is, for the last couple months, when you originally had MVP unveil that new belt, and the belt looks great, but when you originally had MVP unveil that new belt, it told me as a viewer that WWE just didn't care about MVP or about Apollo. Why would you have MVP, who was not even the official United States champion at that time, unveil a new title? I found it disrespectful to Apollo Crews, and this was just like Vince McMahon burying Apollo and undoing the potential buildup of a star that was started by Paul Heyman. So basically, we got the match. The match wasn't anything special, but then MVP complained because of retribution and the lights going off that it distracted him and he wasn't able to get the job done. So I was like, that's weak. I know he was like to make excuses, but are you really going to give MVP a rematch because the guy bitched and moaned about the lights going off? What? It's ridiculous, and it's stupid and retarded. Who cares? What kind of how is that? How do you book a championship match around the lights flickering? So what if someone attacks me right now and the lights just go flicker? That's an excuse? No, that's a terrible excuse, and I hate it. Plus, what the thing about it is, we've already seen this match 2 or 3 times. Just last week, we saw the match. WWE gave us the match last week on Raw. Remember that terrible 3v3 6-man elimination tag we had when it was Ricochet, Ali, and MVP going up against or Ricochet, Ali, and Apollo going up against the Hurt Business? Like, what? What sense does that make? You buried Ali and you buried Ricochet. You sent them back to catering in like 30 seconds. You had Apollo beat Shelton Benjamin, and then you had MVP and Apollo wrestle for like 10 minutes. So that's what I'm asking myself, Paul. If the power goes off, does that automatically entitle me to get the YouTube World Championship? Come on, let's use our brains here for a second. You gave us the match 10 minutes, and the match was nothing special. You want to give me a true United States title match that's actually worthy to be on the SummerSlam card? You should have gave us Apollo versus Bobby Lashley. And that's the direction I thought the story was going. But instead, you don't go that direction. You have Apollo beat MVP again for like the second time in 3 weeks. No lights flickering. He beats him clean with a power bomb. and then Bobby Lashley makes him tap out. So if anything, you're telling me that Bobby Lashley deserves the opportunity more than MVP. If I was WWE at that second, what I would have done is I would have had MVP pull Bobby Lashley aside and be like, all right, I think it's better if you take this opportunity. All right, you bring the United States Championship back to the Hurt Business, because overall, I like the Hurt Business. I like MVP in a managerial role. I like Bobby Lashley the way he is right now, and I'm happy that Shelton Benjamin has something to do. But this is nonsense. You've given me Apollo Crews and MVP how many times in the last couple weeks, and now you expect me to watch it on pay-per-view? What about their match at SummerSlam is going to be better that we haven't seen already on Monday Night Raw? Absolutely nothing. I have to watch because I'm gonna review it, but absolutely nothing. It's gonna be straight garbage. Real Deal Stewart says, Fitzmuck, I'm coming for your electricity, boy. All right, bet. If my electricity comes out during the stream or sometime this weekend, I know who I'm making rest in peace. I know who I'm putting 6 feet under, bro. LOL. But either way, I have Apollo winning. I don't know why. It makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. The match should be Apollo versus Lashley, and we may still get it. I think Apollo's gonna win, and I think this is gonna continue. I think after MVP loses, I think then they're gonna turn to Bobby Lashley, because Lashley's been the only person that's actually been able to beat Apollo over the last couple weeks. And then probably at Clash of Champions, that's when we get Lashley versus Apollo. But I don't understand why they don't do the match now. It's freaking SummerSlam. It's supposed to be the biggest show of the year. It makes absolutely zero sense. Zero sense. But I got Apollo Crews retaining. And most likely Lashley will be the one to take the U.S. title off of Apollo. Probably at Clash of Champions next month. Taking an energy drink sip right here. Anyway, getting on to the next match. Another match that pisses me off. They basically did the same thing with this match with Apollo and MVP. For the Raw Tag Team Championships, we got the Street Profits going up against Andrade and Garza. If you guys remember, after Backlash, I sat here on the podcast and I said that Garza and Andrade should be the next challengers for the Raw Tag Team titles. You need to build them up. Because, let's be serious, the tag team divisions have no teams. No teams. The New Day are out injured right now. The Usos are out injured. The freaking, what they're called, Forgotten Sons are truly forgotten. And you have nobody else on. You still, AOP, still out with injury. You have a lot of tag teams that are out with injury. The OC are in Impact now, right? So I was saying, I'm always preaching that you should merge the Raw and SmackDown tag team divisions. But this is ridiculous. I said build up Garza and Andrade, but the night after Backlash, they give us our Extreme Rules. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up my pay-per-view names. I said, they should build up the Garza and Andrade. What do? They decide to give you the Street Profits versus Garza and Andrade for free, non-title, with nothing on the line. The match was good, but you basically gave us the tag team title match right then and there. And here's the thing. The Street Profits won clean. Garza and Andrade lost clean. Absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. So by that logic, you had no plan for Garza and Andrade to be in the Raw Tag Team title picture, so they go to the back of the line. But instead, what WWE thinks, they think they're smart. The week after, they give us Garza and Andrade versus Ricochet and Cedric Alexander versus, I don't even remember what the third team was, the Viking Raiders. The Viking Raiders in a triple threat number one contenders tag team match, which makes no sense. No sense. None of these teams deserve to be Raw Tag Team Champions. None of them. And I was just about to get there, Paul. You have Garza and Andrade win the match. So now Garza and Andrade are officially the number one contenders for the Raw Tag Team Championships. But then the week after, didn't they team up with Randy Orton and get buried by the Big Show? So, what? Does anybody understand the booking here with Garza and Andrade? Does anybody actually understand it? It makes no sense. Why did you give us the match on Monday Night Raw a couple of weeks ago if Garza and Andrade were always going to end up being the number one contenders? What was the point of having the Street Profits beat them clean? I don't know. And then to make matters even worse, what WWE decides to do after that is they decide to go through this whole poison story with Zelina Vega. All right. Montez Ford got sick in the match, and they go through the poison story. They actually had something pretty good because they got Bianca Belair involved. And you guys know how much I love Bianca Belair. They had Bianca Belair attack Zelina Vega at her house during a Twitch stream a couple weeks ago. Nobody in WWE cares to mention it on WWE TV. Here you have something happening in your TV storyline, and now it's spilling into reality with Bianca attacking Zelina at her house on a Twitch stream, which clearly had to be scripted. All right, but you make no mention of this on WWE programming, which I don't understand why. It would have made the story better. And then last week, you decided to have Angelo Dawkins freaking flirting with the host of The Bachelor, whoever that woman is, whoever that goon is. And I'm getting a migraine from talking about this. Then you have a girl from the WWE's legit paying a girl from The Bachelorette to sit there and flirt with Garza and Ivar and Angelo Dawkins. So then I'm getting Discord chats right now. Anyway, then you decide to have that lady there. You have Angelo Dawkins say, "Oh, I got a video." Samoa Joe, I'll give Samoa Joe credit. Samoa Joe did a really good job of hyping this up. But you have Samoa Joe, hype it up, right? Why is Angelo Dawkins smiling? He has a video in his hands of Zelina Vega poisoning the Solo Cup that would poison his best friend, Montez Ford. And then all of a sudden you play the video and that's it. Anticlimactic. WWE went around the storyline so wrong. So many different directions. They could actually made a pretty good story out of this. But instead they chose not to. It was ridiculous. It really was, if you ask me. And you've already given us the match. You gave us the match 3 or 4 weeks ago, originally when you had the Street Profits win clean. I still have the Street Profits winning here, unless Zelina does something even crazier. But they are the babyface. Ford and Dawkins want payback on Garza and Andrade. So I have the Street Profits winning this match. But WWE could have made this into a much better storyline. But it just proves that WWE, when you write week to week, when you do week-to-week booking instead of long-term story, instead of road mapping how you want to get the point A to point B at the beginning before the trip even begins, this is what you get. You get a story that's full of clusterfucks and logic gaps, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I have the Street Profits winning, but WWE messed up on what could have been a really good story. And what's crazy is the Street Profits are actually the longest rating Raw Tag Team Champions of all time. But I don't know if you guys knew that. There's a fun fact, but wow. Next up, something I'm actually looking forward to. Seth Rollins versus Dominik Mysterio in a street fight. So I don't know if you guys saw this over the week. I don't know if it was with ESPN, but Dominik did do an interview, and we know that Rey Mysterio, Dominik's father, the Hall of Famer, greatest luchador of all time. We know that Rey Mysterio is going to be staying in WWE. He re-signed, even though he was getting offers from AEW, but he re-signed because he wants to stay and watch his son perform in WWE. And Dominik revealed that going forward, most likely after the match, no matter what happens on Sunday, after the match, he's most likely going to be changing his name to Prince Mysterio, and he's going to be wrestling with a mask, just like his father did, which is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. But like I said, before you make Dominik into a full-fledged luchador, and he already has his own Titantron and music. But before you do that, the guy got to get in shape. He can do a really good 619. If you guys remember back when Rey Mysterio went up against Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series last year for the WWE title, we saw that amazing double 619, and Dominik does a really good frog splash. But it's going to be interesting to see how he does it in his first full match. First off, it is a street fight, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all is formed. But still, it's going to be interesting here. This has had a pretty good story to it. I originally thought they should have done Dominik versus Seth way back at Extreme Rules, but they decided to go the eye for an eye direction, and I think part of that was because they didn't know if Ray was going to resign or not, but now that Ray is back full time, it's going to be interesting, and it has an interesting story to it, especially the whole big thing about this match is what happened on Raw 2 weeks ago when we had we had Dominik get his initiation into WWE by Seth Rollins. It was great. It was fantastic. We saw Seth and Buddy Murphy give real Kendall shots to Dominik. And you can see he posted pictures on social media. The welts were real, and you can see he was in some real pain. But definitely, the guy took it like a man, and he earned his WWE colors. Last week on Raw, we saw Ray return, and Dominik and Ray were able to get a little bit of payback on Seth with the Kendall shots. It didn't look as anywhere near as brutal as it was for Dominik and for Dominik 2 weeks ago, but it's definitely going to be interesting going into this match. I feel like it's going to be a really good match because Seth Rollins, no matter what you think of him, no matter how much of a freaking corporate puppet he is, Seth is probably the biggest corporate puppet in WWE out of all the superstars. The guy is a corporate clown. Is why he gets, hated on social media by us real wrestling fans. But the way I see things going with Seth is still one of the greatest performers in the world. He's one of the best of his era. And we know, I think down the line, he is going to, feud with Samoa Joe. But still, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. And I feel like Seth, with how great he is, and I don't have to go through Seth's resume, great matches, but with how great Seth is, I feel like he's going to be able to bring Dominik to a great match. And plus, you're going to have Rey Mysterio in ringside. He's definitely going to get involved. You're going to have Buddy Murphy. Who knows? Maybe Aleister Black, Humberto, people that were attacked by Seth Rollins in the past. Maybe they get involved. But I expect this to be a really good match. And I feel like it's going to be an underrated match on the card. And if I had to pick a winner right now, I'm going to go with Dominik. Seth has had the upper hand on Ray through the entire time. And I feel like now we're going to see a babyface get the victory on Seth. Does this mean this is actually going to be over between the two? I don't know. I could definitely, knowing WWE, probably the next night, they'll probably have Dominik come out in the luchador mask and, his new Prince Mysterio look, and he'll probably go one-on-one with Buddy Murphy. I'm willing to bet that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. But either way, no matter what happens, I do think Dominik is going to walk out the winner here in his first singles match. I think it's going to be great, but yeah. Edwards says, I think Seth will take a break after SummerSlam so he can be home with Becky. That is possible. I don't know. I know Becky's not due till December, so she's only about 5 months at this point. So I don't think she's all the way there yet. Maybe I still think Seth will be on TV for at least a couple more months. All right. Especially since Becky's still in the middle of her pregnancy. She's not at those latter stages yet. Probably sometime during the fall. I think it's, maybe around October, Hell in a Cell time. That's when we'll see Seth finally take a break from WWE, probably be written off TV for a couple months. And then, probably he'll have his child and then he'll start making his way back to WWE for WrestleMania next year. But for right now, what we're focused on, I believe that Seth is going to lose finally, and Dominik will get some measure of payback on Seth Rollins this Sunday at SummerSlam. Moving on. For the Universal Championship, we have Braun Strowman versus the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. This is going to be interesting. But I'm going to say it off the bat, Bray Wyatt has to win. Bray Wyatt is holding on by a thread right now with his character. You guys have seen me bitch and moan and complain about this in the past. With the way WWE has treated, what's his name? With the way WWE has treated Bray Wyatt, having him lose to Goldberg. First off, this started all the way when he should have never lost to Seth Rollins. If you weren't ready to take that Universal title off of Seth Rollins back in Hell in a Cell last year, you should have never booked the match to begin with, which was in fact the case. And we got one of the worst pay-per-view endings of all time. That was strike one. Goldberg was strike two. I will never respect Goldberg again for what he did to Bray Wyatt. With that absolutely selfish prick-like attitude of his, saying he needed to beat Goldberg. I mean, he needed to beat Bray Wyatt for the kids so he could still look like a superhero. Absolutely pathetic. And then you have Goldberg on social media talking about how he still has 2 years left in his deal and how he's supposed to wrestle twice a year. I don't want to see Goldberg back in the ring again. I feel like most people would agree with me. But anyway, we've seen here with this feud since Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. This has been going on since WrestleMania. At Money in the Bank, we had Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt, lose cleanly to Braun Strowman. Then at Extreme Rules, we had the Wyatt Swamp fight when it was Strowman versus Eater of Worlds, Bray Wyatt. And we saw the Fiend appear after the match. And it appears now that the Fiend is babyface. And it's like right now, remember, Strowman was supposed to be the top babyface champion on SmackDown. He was supposed to fill in the role that was supposed to be filled by Roman Reigns. But if you look at it, the roles have reversed. We see you got Alexa Bliss involved. You had the Fiend actually kind of kidnap Alexa Bliss for a week. And I wish they went into a little bit more on that, but clearly Alexa Bliss was able to make some kind of connection with the Fiend, which was weird. And then we had Braun Strowman return with the new look. Because we know that Bray Wyatt, whoever the Fiend interacts with, changes. And not necessarily for good. He changes in a bad way. We saw Seth, he turned into the Messiah. Finn Balor went back to NXT and turned into the Prince of Darkness for a little bit. We saw Daniel Bryan he was forced to cut his hair because Bray Wyatt ripped his beard and hair apart. And then now we have Braun Strowman. Now he went bald and now has a monster-like attitude. They're going with a storyline that Alexa Bliss, who last week revealed per storyline that she thought that there was a potentially romantic connection between her and Strowman. We saw but Strowman coming out with the Mr. Clean look. Man, coming out here looking like freaking Floyd Mayweather, shined his head. But Strowman, clearly he's blinded by range. And, he's now unlocked the monster inside of him. And now all he cares about is destroying Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. And we saw how Alexa Bliss was trying to calm him down, get him back to normal, but nothing was working. And basically, we saw actually Strowman actually slam Alexa Bliss, which was pretty cool. And then we saw the Fiend comforting Alexa Bliss. And I think Alexa Bliss is going to be a real wrench and probably the reason why Strowman loses at SummerSlam. They could go with the storyline that Alexa Bliss turns heel, but the way I see it, I kind of see that Strowman's the heel and the Fiend is the babyface. Here you have the Fiend saving, Alexa Bliss from now the monstrous evil being that Strowman has become. So, like I said, real Stewart, Mr. Clean Braun Strowman. Looking like Floyd Mayweather is his barber, bro. Like, get that trending on Twitter. Anyway, but I feel like what I would do, I don't know. I wouldn't mind if WWE did this. I would have done something like have Alexa Bliss be the special guest referee, and we still have SmackDown this week. So it's still going to be interesting to see what the hell happens. But definitely, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Right now, I gotta go with the Fiend. The Fiend has to win. He has to win. Strowman should have never been champion to begin with. Strowman has done nothing with that championship. Did nothing. He had what? How many? He's only had what, 2 title defenses, and he's been champion for over 4 months. There's week where I forget that Strowman is the Universal Champion. He's been a forgettable champion, and he's held it for over a third of the year. It's ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. But now we have Strowman versus Wyatt, and I think Alexa's gonna be the X factor here. Will Alexa be able to get through the Braun Strowman, get him back to normal, or will Alexa turn on Strowman, fully join the Fiend, and the Fiend becomes Universal Champion? I think the latter is much more likely, but it's gonna be interesting to see. With Braun Strowman in this whole new evil monster state, how much offense did we allow him to get on the Fiend? Is it going to be an actual bout, monster versus monster? It's going to be interesting to see how WWE does it. But at the end of the day, the Fiend has to win. If the Fiend does not walk out of SummerSlam with the Universal Championship, he is done. It is over for him, and there's no going back. Ultra Paul says Braun Strowman literally owes his entire career to Roman Reigns. You can't change my mind. I agree with you, sir. I agree with you, sir. I have nothing else to say on that. Moving on. We're going to talk about the WWE Championship because you guys know what I'm going to talk about last. So I'm going to get the WWE Championship. This, outside of what's going on with the Women's Championship situation, this right here has probably been the best book match and probably is the most worthy match on SummerSlam's card outside of Sasha and Asuka and Bayley versus Asuka. I am legitimately hyped for those 3 matches. Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre is going to be the main event of the show. Remember, we did hear that there was rumors saying that we're going to have Lesnar come back, but it just didn't make any sense. Randy Orton was the only guy that had been built up enough to the extent where he could face what's his name? Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre, he's been a great WWE champion. He's been a badass. Even though there's times where Drew McIntyre's booking has been questionable, and that's WWE's fault, but I think Drew McIntyre has done a great job in the role that he's given. And I definitely think down the line, when we get fans back in attendance, when things get back to normal, no matter if that's at the end of the year or next year, Drew McIntyre will get his big title moment. Yes, he won the title at WrestleMania, and he's been a great WWE champion, and he's a badass, but at the end of the day, he never got that true moment. We saw that pop he got at the Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania was supposed to be his big time, but he didn't get that. And it's sad, and it kind of sucks, but I feel like eventually down the line, WWE has something in Drew McIntyre. He can be, well, he already is. He can be one of the top baby faces for WWE for years and years to come. Drew McIntyre can be what Roman Reigns couldn't be. It's really that simple. But I do think eventually Drew will get his big title match. But excuse me. But this match is going to be hype. It's going to be fantastic. If Randy Orton versus Edge was as great as it was back at Backlash, imagine how good this match is going to be. This is going to be great. Randy Orton has been the best heel in WWE all year. He's been the best thing on WWE TV outside of Drew McIntyre, The Hurt Business, and Sasha Banks and Bayley. Those 5 are, 7. Those 7 names have been the ones that have carried WWE through the Performance Center era. And it's going to be fantastic. What Randy Orton has done, rejuvenating himself. I say this all the time. When Randy Orton cares, he's one of the best in the world. And he has cared all year. He has arguably been the superstar of the year in WWE. He's been great with his feud with Edge. And I think we're going to get that conclusion starting with Drew McIntyre here at SummerSlam. But what he's done with Christian, taking out Big Show, taking out Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, that emotional segment he had with Ric Flair a couple weeks ago, man. They've done a great job Great job building up to this, making it feel like a big fight feel. And even though if it was anybody else, I would say Drew McIntyre would definitely be winning. But I am convinced. Excuse me. I don't know why it's because I'm drinking this, but I am convinced that Drew McIntyre is gonna lose. All right, Randy Orton looks strong every single week. Drew's been RKO'd twice, and I'm gonna say the way Randy Orton wins the match, I think Orton's gonna hit 2 RKO's on Drew. Drew will hit at least 1 Claymore, but I think Orton's gonna land 2 RKO's on Drew, and probably have to land a punt kick to get the win. He's been taking people out with the punt kick after the RKO, and I think that's what it's going to take. 2 RKOs and a punt to take down Drew McIntyre for Randy Orton. I don't want to see Drew McIntyre lose the WWE Championship, but right now, Randy Orton becoming WWE Champion is what I think is the best thing. And then, Randy Orton, he runs with the WWE Championship. He's going to care a lot more because WWE's not going to be on tour. So it'll be easy for him. You can have him feud with, Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa, some other names if you want. And then down the line, eventually, I think Edge will come back in January if Orton's still the champion at the time. Probably Edge wins the battle, the Men's Royal Rumble, and then we get the conclusive with Edge versus Randy Orton 3 taking place at WrestleMania. It was originally supposed to take place here at SummerSlam, but Edge is still recovering from his injury. So definitely, I think we're going to get Edge and Orton at WrestleMania. And then Edge, 10 years. Remember, it's going to be 2021 by then. Last time Edge was world champion was back at 2011 at WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta. So 10 years, almost 10 years to the day since Edge was the last world champion. I think that's when they're going to have Edge regain the throne, regain the WWE Championship. I am hyped for this match. I think Edge versus Orton could easily go 25 to 30 minutes if given the time. Also, I think Orton and McIntyre are probably going to go, 2-3 months. They're going to have 2 or 3 matches. This is not a one match feud. I can see this feud going all the way up to Hell in a Cell, to be honest. But either way, it's going to be a great match. I am hyped for it. But as much as I love Drew McIntyre, I think Randy Orton is walking out WWE champion. Moving on here. What up, Eric Laura? I don't know. Are you new to the channel? I don't recognize your name. That's why I'm asking. Getting into the last thing on the show tonight. Our last thing for our preview and predictions. Before we get out of here. Here we have Sasha Banks versus Asuka. Asuka versus Bayley. Smackdown and Raw Women's Championships. If you guys know I am... Well, Eric, Laura, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the channel. Good to have you here. All right. I love seeing new viewers in the chat every once in a while. No matter if you guys are a long-term subscriber, new subscriber, see you guys in the chat, see you interacting with you guys. It's great to see. It's great to see the podcast grow every single week. But you guys know I'm one of the biggest Sasha Banks fans in the world. I'm disappointed that, COVID happened because I was so hyped for SummerSlam in Boston. You guys could see back there, most of the time you guys can't see it because when I'm doing a podcast, I have my overlay on. But you guys can see right there, I have my Sasha Banks poster signed from a meet and greet right here in Boston a couple years ago. And I was really excited for SummerSlam here in Boston, Sasha's hometown. We were originally supposed to get Sasha versus Bayley, but the plans changed. And I'm fine with that. But here we have 2 belts Banks. And I am terrified. If you guys have seen the Monday Night Raw reviews the last month, I've been terrified that Sasha is going to lose the Raw Women's Championship. I have done videos on this. I have beaten this to death. Sasha cannot lose the Raw Women's Championship. She cannot lose. There's no way Asuka is walking out with double belts. We all know this. Asuka is not walking out with double belts. The most he's walking out with, if anything, is 1 belt. And the thing about it is, I'm scared of how this is going. Because first of all, Sasha has never been able to successfully defend the Raw Women's Championship. She's a 5-time Women's Champion. In my opinion, the greatest female superstar of all time. But She's never been able to successfully defend a singles championship on the main roster. All right. And she's never had a title reign last longer than 30 days with a main roster championship. And I hate those stats. I really do. And I feel like things are not going to be any different here. I got I'm getting a lot of text messages today. But basically, all right, I see Stewart giving I see, all right, Stuart, I see you giving some scenarios. So I'm definitely going to be looking because I've been asking on social media. I've been giving scenarios. I've been talking about this. Sasha cannot lose this Sunday. She can't. I will be you. Sasha Banks has been the best thing on WWE TV outside of Randy Orton since this pandemic era began. She has carried WWE while Becky Lynch, got pregnant, while Ronda Rousey is in Hawaii on vacation, while Charlotte is taking a break from WWE. Sasha Banks has made up for those 4 months she took off last year, and her and Bayley have carried the women's division since March. They've been the best thing going forward. And yes, love seeing them win the tag team titles again. Love Bayley those straps. Love seeing Sasha become 2 belts Banks. And now here we go. Thank you, Paul. Scripting a new Master UI Goku video for the channel. Bro, Paul, I got a couple of videos coming out next week talking about Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 63, bro. We got a video talking about mirrors. We got a video talking about Goku. It's going to be lit. It's going to be lit, bro. Anyway, getting back to it. Sasha Banks, man. You guys can see the frustration. Ask Paul. Actually, no, I don't have to ask Paul because for those of you guys that were here for the Extreme Rules reaction, I was losing my mind. I was losing my mind during this match, and I cannot go through seeing Sasha lose another title. Not at SummerSlam, not after 30 days, not after not at least having one successful title defense. I hate that. I hate that curse. I really do. It's just like, wow. And like I said, there's a bigger story. I say this all the time. There's a bigger story in place with Sasha Banks and Bayley. We know that. WrestleMania next year, that's when hopefully we'll have fans in attendance and hopefully, there's a vaccine for, people and things will be back to normal. But that's still such a long way away. And I did a video for those of you guys that saw it. It was really good. I booked how Sasha Banks and Bayley how they should be booked from now all the way to WrestleMania next year. But think about it, I feel like WWE's not even going to let us get to the next step of the plan because they've been teasing us with this nonsense, bro. They really have. If you look at it, Asuka has been teasing that she's going to face Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's Championship next. And then next Sunday at Pay-Per-View, we have Payback. I just remember that now. We have another pay-per-view next week. Next week, we have WWE Payback. And, Sasha and Bayley are going to be defending the tag team titles. Probably against, I'm predicting Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. I'm fine with Sasha and Bayley defending and even losing the women's tag team titles as long as they both hold on to their singles championships. Because you guys saw my video, I said what you need to do is you need to have Sasha Banks carry the Raw Women's Championship on Raw. Have her go up against, Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler. You can even have her give a title match to Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott because Sasha's the best in the world. And then sometime around November, you start showing that tension between Sasha Banks and Bayley. You can have Bayley actually cost Sasha the Raw Women's Championship. You have Sasha win the Royal Rumble, and then she goes on to challenge Bayley, and finally, Sasha turns babyface, finally gets her first WrestleMania victory, finally becomes a Grand Slam champion, finally wins her first ever SmackDown Women's title. And then all that storytelling comes to a fantastic conclusion with two of the best female wrestlers in the world duking it out on the biggest stage, telling the story that they want to tell. But are we even going to get there? Are we going to even get there? WWE's going to ruin it before they even say it. You have Asuka out here already saying that she's going to face Shayna for the Raw Women's title at Payback or whatever is next, Clash of Champions, whatever. And I'm just like, are we really going to disrespect Sasha Banks here, the best female wrestler in the world? Are we really going to do that? So what? If Sasha loses, no matter what happens, maybe because there's so many factors that go into this, maybe, Sasha loses the Raw Women's title. She goes on to defend her tag team titles with Bayley. But what? She just becomes Bayley's lackey again? And we're right back to square one? Because, like I said, I don't see Bayley losing the SmackDown Women's title, even though it would make sense. But Asuka is a Raw superstar at the end of the day. You guys got to remember that. She's a Raw superstar. But remember, Bayley was the one that took out Kairi Sane. Took out Kairi Sane so bad, even though it wasn't the best attack. You had Bayley take out Kairi Sane to the point where she couldn't wrestle anymore per storyline, and she was written off TV because we know Kairi Sane went back to Japan. So would this be more about Asuka wanting to get payback on Bayley more than Sasha Banks? Because it's been Bayley that's been putting all these shenanigans. Bayley was the one that took the referee shirt. Bayley was the one who made the count. Bayley was the one that distracted Asuka by attacking Kairi Sane, making Sasha the Raw Women's title. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. A couple months ago, we were thinking, all right, SummerSlam, we're going to get Sasha and Bayley. And now here we are with Sasha versus Asuka and Bayley versus Asuka both happening in the same night. And I've been thinking about this. I will never go against Sasha Banks. I will never bet against her. So I am predicting Sasha will win the Raw Women or retain the Raw Women's Championship on Sunday. I'm scared that she won't, but I am predicting that she will because you guys know I never bet against the best female wrestler in the world. But the thing about it is, what's crazy is Sasha's going to be facing Asuka second. Not first, but second. So she's going to have, and Bayley and Asuka, we know how good they are. They can go 20 to 30 minutes. So Asuka, no matter if Asuka wins or loses to Bayley, Sasha, who is the best female wrestler in the world, she's going to be 100% fresh. Going to be 100% fresh. And then Asuka is going to be worn down. So if anything, Sasha should get the victory easily. So the thing that I'm most afraid about is not only Sasha losing the title after not even 30 days, losing the title in her first title defense. I'm afraid that they're going to do it in the worst way possible. Maybe Bayley tries to help Sasha, and then it leads to actually distracting Sasha, and then, Asuka gets the victory. But I'm more terrified that, Asuka, who's not even going to be anywhere near 100%, she's going to be spent after a match with Bayley, win, lose, or draw, against a fresh Sasha Banks, and Sasha's going to end up losing. I pray that it doesn't come to that scenario, but if it does, you guys are going to get the rant of the century on the SummerSlam review right after SummerSlam goes off the air. I don't want to rant. I don't want to bitch. I don't want to moan. I don't want to go off. You guys love it because it's entertaining. And it's one of the reasons why you guys should subscribe to this channel. It's one of the reasons why you guys love what we do here so much. But I don't want to do it, especially when it comes to Sasha Banks. She doesn't deserve it. It doesn't make sense, and it's not right for the overall story. What I want is Sasha and Bayley to both come out. And I love Asuka, but Asuka doesn't need the Raw Women's title right now. And the bigger story is Sasha Banks and Bayley. Sasha's going to elevate that Raw Women's division more than anybody else could. More than Asuka. And I love Asuka. More than Charlotte. More than Becky. More than anybody else could. Because she's that damn good. What needs to happen is Sasha and Bayley. More than anything, Sasha specifically needs to walk out of SummerSlam as the Raw Women's Champion. Best case scenario, both Bayley and Sasha retained. And they actually go and lose their tag team titles at Payback. But I will be fine. I will be able to sleep peacefully as long as Sasha retains. All right? That's it. That's really it. There's only one scenario One scenario where I could go by where I would actually be okay with Sasha Banks losing. All right. If Sasha was to lose thanks to a Bayley interference, then at Payback, Sasha, retains the tag team titles by tapping out Liv Morgan or Ruby Riott or whoever, right? Right. So Sasha loses to Asuka, and but Sasha gets the win for her team at Payback. Then Sasha just gets pissed off at Bayley. They just start tension just starts escalating and escalating and escalating more and more every single week. Then eventually, sometime in the fall, Bayley turns on Sasha Banks and attacks her. Maybe this writes Sasha off via injury per storyline. Then Sasha comes back and wins the Royal Rumble, and then that leads to Sasha getting payback at WrestleMania, turning babyface and becoming SmackDown Women's Champion. That's the only way I can accept this. But you guys know I don't trust WWE when it comes to long-term storytelling. Why should we? It's WWE we're talking about here. So I'm hoping and I'm praying that he makes the right decision and Sasha walks out of, SummerSlam as Raw Women's Champion. And you're already talking about, and Ultra Paul says, if Sasha loses to Asuka after she already had a match against Bayley, then I'll never give this company the benefit of the doubt again, ever. He said it best. The bigger story here is Sasha Banks and Bayley. We all know that. But Sasha should not be losing. She can't, especially after Bayley has a match with Asuka before Sasha even gets her hands on Asuka. This makes sense here. Sasha's not a Tamina. She's not a Lacey Evans. She's not a Dana Brooke. She's not any of those trash wrestlers. She's the best female wrestler in the world, and it's not even close. You can't make that choice. You really can't. If you want Bayley to retain, fine. I want that to happen. But I want Sasha to retain more than anything, and I do not care. I do not have to explain why it should happen. I shouldn't. I do not want to, because like I said, SummerSlam could be the best show in the world. It won't be, but SummerSlam could easily be the best pay-per-view of the year this Sunday. But if Sasha loses, I'm going to come on here and give you guys the rant of the year. And you guys do not want that. You guys remember how mad I was when Sasha and Bayley lost the tag team titles to the Iconics last year at WrestleMania. You guys who were subscribed at the time, you guys remember that rant. You guys have seen my rants over the years. You guys know I will be pissed off at 11 o'clock at night. And I do not want to do that. I really don't. Make the right decision here. Before we get out of here, I want to see what Stuart said. I know Stuart was giving some scenarios. So I'm going to look at these very, very quickly before I get out of here. Where is it? Where's your first scenario, bro? All right. His first scenario was Bayley wins because, according to the storyline, Bayley wins when it matters. That's correct. We've seen Bayley, she lost to Shayna Baszler clean. I didn't like that, but, it's whatever. She lost to Asuka the week before that, which was what got Asuka the opportunity against Sasha anyway. All right, so I wasn't that mad about that. Plus, you had Bayley lose to Kairi Sane clean on Raw a couple weeks before that. So Bayley, she does tend to lose, matches that don't have her title on the line or are unimportant. Bayley actually said on SmackDown last week that I will get the job done on Asuka. Against Asuka next at SummerSlam, because Bayley did said I will actually be wrestling for something important. So you can see it's like Bayley's supposed to be Sasha's best friend. So what? Bayley didn't find that it was important to win the match, so Sasha wouldn't have to face Asuka. So definitely, I know I was the only one that heard that line. So definitely, it's going to be interesting. But I do expect Bayley to retain. I'm way more worried about Sasha this Sunday than Bayley. But if Bayley loses, it's not a big deal. So probably regain the title later on in the year. All right. It's Bayley. Come on. Vince loves her. And, I love Bayley too. She's incredible. But Bayley's had, 2 super long reigns as SmackDown Women's Champion. It's Sasha's turn now. Come on. What was your second scenario? WWE or Vince? Well, Real Do Stewart, you said something about Vince having an issue. Vince loves Sasha now. All right. I think Sasha has easily changed Vince's mind and everyone's minds backstage. All right. Maybe Vince likes Bailey more. I don't know. But I definitely think Sasha and Vince have a really good relationship now. Plus, I don't even know if Bruce is still in charge. I've heard rumors that it might be Shane. Shane might be the new guy in charge. So I don't know. But other than that, bro, that's about it. How you guys like my rant? How you guys like my rant? Gonna finish it off like this. Sasha needs to retain. There's no and, ifs, or buts. She has to retain at SummerSlam. I'm way more worried about Sasha than Bailey. And hopefully I will not have to come and rant this Sunday, bro. Hopefully I won't. I'm gonna go through the card one more time, give you guys my final preview prediction just in case you missed a match, you guys came in late, or whatever. Right now, how many matches do we have on the card? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 matches announced for SummerSlam's main card. We could see Matt Riddle versus King Corbin and Hardy versus Styles for the IC title announced, but right now those matches have not been announced. We'll have to wait for Smackdown for that. I'm just going to go on the 8 matches I have in front of me. U.S. Championship, Apollo Crews versus MVP. I have Apollo winning because he'll eventually lose that title to Bobby Lashley. Sonya Deville versus Mandy Rose, hair versus hair. I have Mandy Rose winning. We've already seen Sonya cut Mandy's hair, and I don't see Mandy going bald. So I think Sonya's going to be losing them locks this Sunday. Raw Tag Team Championship match, Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza. I have the Street Profits winning, even though I don't really care that much. Seth Rollins versus Dominik Mysterio in a street fight. Buddy Murphy will be in Seth Rollins' corner, and Rey Mysterio will be in his son's corner. I have Dominik getting the win here. Universal Championship, Braun Strowman versus The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. I have The Fiend getting the job done, finally regaining the Universal title, thanks to an assist by Alexa Bliss. All right, if The Fiend loses here, he's done. It's that simple. He's done. But I think The Fiend's going to win the Universal title, and he's probably going to hold that title till Roman comes back. The Emperor returns to regain his throne. That's what I think is going to happen there. But WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. I love Drew McIntyre. He will be WWE Champion again sometime in the future. But I think right now with what Randy Orton's doing, the best case scenario is Randy Orton. And Randy Orton's going to win the WWE Championship. He's going to defeat Drew McIntyre with a punt. And then Edge will return sometime later in the future. And Edge will take the WWE Championship from Randy Orton. So SmackDown Women's title match right now. I'm not going to give a prediction for that. It's not that I don't care. I'm excited for the match. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is Sasha. That's what matters. No matter if Asuka wins against Bailey or Bailey retains, no matter what happens, the big thing is Sasha versus Asuka. That's the big story here. All right. So I think Sasha's going to defeat Asuka. That's my prediction. As scared as I am, I will never bet against the best female wrestler in the world. And if she does lose, you guys know what's going to happen. But other than that, guys, that's the preview and predictions. We went over, for those of you guys that came in late, we talked about AEW bringing back live fans at the beginning of the podcast and my thoughts on that and how long till WWE does the same thing. We also talked about WWE Thunderdome. So it's going to be interesting to see how it looks in its full glory, graphics and all, this weekend with SmackDown, SummerSlam, and Raw, which we'll be covering on the channel. It's going to be a big weekend. One more time, I'll give you guys the announcements before I get out of here. SummerSlam preview and predictions, what you guys are watching right now. Thank you guys for joining me. No matter if you guys are watching live or on demand. Hopefully tomorrow night, I'm hoping I might be busy, but hopefully I won't be, or at least hopefully I'll have time so that we can do an NXT TakeOver 30 review. I really want to do that. But if I can't, I'll most likely do that Sunday morning. But we'll see. Also, Sunday morning, I might do a reaction to Sasha Banks and Bailey Untold from the WWE Network new documentary. So watch out for that as well. Then Sunday night, the big night. All right, SummerSlam live stream. I will be on Discord with a couple of my friends where we always watch these WWE pay-per-views. So definitely that's gonna be a hype at stream. So definitely if you guys want to watch SummerSlam with me, make sure you guys are here for the SummerSlam live reaction stream, watch along. All right. And right after SummerSlam goes off the air, we'll be right back here on the podcast with a full SummerSlam and review. Will I be in a bitchy mood? Will I go off? That is the question. That is the big question this weekend. Will you guys get the rant of the century? Hopefully not. I'm praying. I won't lose my voice Sunday night, but we'll see. And then Monday, we have the Monday Night Raw review. All right. And yeah, that's about it. It's going to be a big weekend here on the Legit Shoot podcast. But definitely, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit a like on this video. So everybody in the chat, before you leave, hit a like on the video. It really helps me out. Also, subscribe if you guys are new. Enable notifications by clicking the bell right next to my name, Fitz TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Following me down on social media, on Twitter. I will be live tweeting during this weekend, especially during NXT TakeOver and SummerSlam. I will be live tweeting during the watch along. So it's going to be crazy, but thank you guys so much for joining me. You guys are great. You guys are amazing. All right, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. For all my old subscribers, new subscribers, thank you guys so much. You guys make this podcast. You guys make this channel what it is, and we continue to grow each and every single day. But thank you guys so much. I will see you guys hopefully Saturday night. But if I don't, most likely Sunday morning. But big weekend, lots of things coming. Stay safe and healthy, guys. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day, guys. Peace.